Hey, welcome to our podcast, Business for Beginners, where we share the good, the bad, and the funny of business. This is raw, unscripted, truthful business knowledge to help the aspiring entrepreneur grow their business empires. So today I got a very special guest here today. Her name is DeAngelo. She is a phenomenal woman. She is an author, an international best-selling author. That's even better, but check this out. She's also an expert networker. In anything in business, networking is going to be the number one thing you need to learn, and she is an expert in networking. So we're so excited to have DeAngelo here. Nina, welcome to our podcast.
Oh, thanks, Eric. Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
I know. So this is really our second podcast together. So we weren't going to say this, but we're just going to put it out there. So Business for Beginners, I want you to learn one thing. If I could teach you any one thing in business is you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have failures. And as Nina said, it doesn't make any sense to be mad about what you just messed up.
True.
I mean, really,
doesn't
right?
fix it.
It doesn't fix it, right?
Nope.
As much as I want it to fix it, because it doesn't. So I spent some time, we learned our lesson. So you either learn or you win. On this one, we learned so we could win the second time around.
Oh, you know what that reminds me? There's a phrase I like to say with my clients is there's no such thing as failure. It's only feedback.
Oh, very nice.
You take in what doesn't work, right? You recalibrate, you go again. You recalibrate, you go again. You recalibrate, you go again.
So that's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, I think.
It could be.
I mean, feedback is, I think, the most important part. In any part of business, I always say this: track everything that you do, measure everything that you do, because all it does is gives you feedback. That's it. You get feedback. It's neither good nor bad. It's just feedback.
And we've been programmed and conditioned to think that that's failure.
Yes.
When in actuality, it's not. It's giving you all the lessons that you need to move in a different direction to make it work.
So talk a little bit more about this feedback thing, because I think this is a big thing that people really need to get, because when we look at failure versus feedback, we're using two different words. And we know that we call it word transformational vocabulary, where we're using words dictate our emotions.
Sure.
And if we're using the word failure, well...
That doesn't make me feel very good.
Fuck no, but if you use the word feedback...
Right. Oh, okay. I can roll with that.
I can roll. You know what I mean? It
Yes.
changes the whole dynamic of things.
It does.
Just one single word changes your whole life.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so I want you to share a little more about feedback. How somebody can just figure out a way to make it about feedback versus the idea of failure, because they've been programmed to look at it as failure.
Yep.
So from an NLP perspective, how do you get them to look at it from a feedback perspective?
They have to be willing to change that verbiage in their own mind. That self-inner dialogue is so important. Of how you speak to yourself internally is going to affect how you speak to people externally.
Yes.
And how you take things in, and how you store them, and how you perceive them, right? So if you've been programmed to believe that, failure is a bad thing, which most of us are,
yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
The minute somebody says, "Oh, I failed at that," what are they saying? And really, on the unconscious level, what is it they're talking to themselves like inside their head, right?
But they're a loser.
They're beating themselves up.
100%.
Yeah, and so if you change that, just shift it just a little bit, right? You just make that little tweak. It's no longer failure, now it's feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that didn't work. Doesn't mean it failed, it just means it didn't work.
Right.
So now let's try something else.
Feedback is huge. I mean, when I think of feedback, I think of it like this: as feedback equals accelerated results.
And you have to be willing to take the feedback is the thing too. You have to be willing to hear it and know you're not going to hit a home run every single time.
But what if you have nobody to give you that feedback? What if you have nobody to bounce that idea off of, to share something with, and you're just relying on yourself? So how do you get yourself to realize it's about feedback, and how do you research it and make sure it's about feedback?
Yeah, you take notes, right? You take notes. This is what I'm doing. This is the goal. This is the steps I'm taking to get there. And then you start crossing out the things that aren't working. That's it. And it's just feedback.
I've always said that too. I've always said that if you don't like, because every action has a reaction.
Yeah.
If we don't like what we've got from what we've done, then we look at it, we evaluate it, we analyze it, we break it apart, and say, okay, well, this is why. Feedback.
And if you're in a space where you're in an emotional state where you're beating yourself up internally because you're using the word like failure, we don't think logically when we're thinking emotionally.
No.
To stay in the logical sense, speak to yourself better. Use better words.
And so I'm going to share something. I think about what you just said, because when my son committed suicide, we often wonder, because we didn't know why he committed suicide. I can only think that he saw himself in so many negative ways, even though he was raised in a phenomenal family, loving, caring in every way possible, was in the military for 7 years, something was giving him negative feedback. So sometimes, even though it's about feedback, how do we prevent this from being negative feedback and make sure it's about positive feedback?
You have to think of what is the emotion that's tied to that? I mean, like, emotion is everything. If you, I mean, like, you know how you've heard the phrase, there's no room for emotion in business.
Right, right.
I mean, there's
rule by the numbers.
There is a truth to that, though.
Right.
I mean, because here's the thing. If something is going on, you're having something internally happening to you and it's giving you just the icky feelings, that's a negative state.
Yes.
I mean, be aware that's a negative state. How can you move yourself from a negative state into a positive state? It's real easy. What is the exact opposite of what I'm feeling right now? What is it that I want? If I don't want this, what do I want?
Right, so I'm feeling, so let's just create a feeling.
Sure.
Let's use the word, let's create a feeling. I'm feeling pissed off beyond measure because my podcast didn't work because I forgot to plug the cord into the wrong part on the camera. So I was actually really pissed off.
Okay.
And my feedback, I used it as all negative feedback. I was so pissed off.
Sure.
And I stewed over that probably for 12 to 15 hours.
So if you don't want to be pissed off, what do you want?
I want to be happy.
What do you need to do in order to get there?
Figure out how to plug it into the right thing.
And you did.
And I did, right. But in that moment, how do we change that in that very moment?
Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's impossible to change in that moment. You're human.
Right.
Feel your feels, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Let it out, get in there, feel it, get all gooey with it, right? And then get the fuck out of it because it's not going to serve you at all.
Yeah, and I can see that. But I do get it. Sometimes when you're in the moment, you're in the emotional moment, you are stuck there and you don't know how to get out.
This is why you need to have a circle of people that you can rely on.
And what I would use on you, which I know you would use on me, which would be a pattern interrupt.
100%.
If you saw me just acting all stupid and crazy, you'd be like, slap me upside the head, throw some water in my face, or whatever it took to interrupt the pattern so you could insert a positive idea or emotion or a word or something. I could just
maybe offer a different perspective of what you're not seeing, because right now you're seeing red.
Right.
So I might snap at you. I might say, Eric, let's go for a walk. I might grab you, go for a walk. Hey, how was your day? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever, right?
You're like, what?
That's exactly what you do. You pull the person out of that state, right? And then, okay, let's talk about what just happened.
I was on an airplane and I was flying with this.
I love that you knew pattern interrupt. Sorry,
I love pattern interrupts. Absolutely.
They are amazing.
Yeah. I took a course by Tony Robbins and Chloe Madonis on strategic intervention.
Okay.
And I loved it. And I learned all these things about pattern interrupts, how to do all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I practiced these for years and years and years and years and years. I was on an airplane with a young lady. This is last year. Her first time ever flying. She's 16 years old. Mm-hmm. Now, she gets on the plane. She sits next to me. And she is just, I could already see she's freaking out. She's panicking. She says, I have anxiety so bad. I'm so scared of this plane ride. I'm going to fly for my first time. And she was just going on and on about how she was so afraid. Yeah. Now, it gets better. So when we start to take off, she keeps going, is this normal? Is this normal? Is this normal? Is this normal? I mean, it was funny, but it was sad, but I said, hey, look, it's okay. This is normal. This is all normal. I said, if you need to hold my hand, just hold my hand. I said, you're going to make it through this. Everything that you feel is normal on the airplane. Yeah. But we don't know what's normal until we experience it our first time.
Correct.
And that fear that she felt was, she didn't know what to do with it. But I used just simple pattern interrupts.
Good.
I just changed what she was focusing on to something. Hey, what do you like to do?
Yeah, where are you going?
Oh, you love music? That is awesome. Tell me about your music. All I do is just change her whole focus to something different. Yep. And she was so happy she had a good plane ride. So I talked to this girl, and granted, I can be loud sometimes. And I don't mean to be loud. I just talk to people. You know what I mean? I'm just naturally just a fun, loving, caring kind of guy. But the guy in front of us, he was an older guy. He turns around, he goes, can you guys shut up? And we're just having a normal conversation. We're not being loud. We're just having a normal conversation. And he was just so rude. Yeah. And I felt bad for her. This is her first plane ride, and she got to experience Ken on the airplane.
That's his name?
Ken and Karen. Right?
I love it. I was going to say, how'd you find out his name? I guess.
Oh, okay. No, but I mean, and he's hilarious. Like, you guys are being so loud. I'm like, we're just having a conversation. We're just talking. And he just keeps on going. I'm like, dude, turn around, shut your mouth, and mind your own business, is what I finally told the guy.
Good.
And he finally turned around. You could see he's just stewing up there. But it's no different from me having to listen to him have a conversation with his wife or whoever he was with at all.
Yeah, and that is all about him and nothing about your conversation.
Then I told the girl, I said, I am so sorry that you had to experience something negative on an airplane for your first ride.
God love her.
But she had fun.
She was lucky she had you to sit next to. See, that's like the universe perfectly
I know,
aligning
right?
who she needed to be with.
But I love that. I love getting to help people change their whole perspective. And this is what you do for a living.
It is.
You're a mindset coach, master certified in NLP. You change people's whole ideas of how they see the world.
When they're ready.
When they're ready.
Yeah.
I think you just got to force them to be ready. You're going to drink it. Get the water hose out, put it down there. So you drinking this shit. You drinking this shit. No.
It's not effective that way, Eric.
Oh, it doesn't work that way? Oh, well, I mean, we're trying, right? We're trying to help people see life through a better lens, I think is what it is.
100%. 100%. That's exactly what mindset coaching is all about. It's about taking old programming that you've been running for decades, problem-solving skills that you've been using for decades, and just changing them into a more positive way in which the outcome is going to better serve you.
100%.
Because, look, let's face it, you being pissed off the other night about the microphones not working wasn't serving you at all.
Oh, no.
In the least little
my
bit.
God. It didn't help any at all.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to apologize to my wife for being an asshole. I said, I said, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I shouldn't have treated you that way. I was just an asshole. I wasn't, and in doing, I was just not there. I just stewed in my own
You weren't
zone.
present.
No, not at all. And I had to apologize. And then again, I apologized again in the morning. And I'm saying, I'm so sorry. Because I care more about the relationship always than I do my own feelings of being right or wrong or whatever it is.
Well, I'll tell you what's huge about that is the fact that you recognized awareness, right? We've talked about this before.
100%.
You were aware of the space you were in and how you were treating someone that wasn't even that person's
Right. She didn't even deserve that. No.
She wasn't even part of it.
Nope.
And that you were like, okay, as mad as I am, I'm wrong, and I get to go and apologize for the way I'm behaving because it is not her issue.
See, and I don't see that as eating crow. I don't see that as
No.
I see that it's an honor that I get to go, hey, say, look, you know what? I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please forgive me.
100%.
And because my wife's like a lovey-dovey, touchy girl. She loves to rub my arm. I'm like, that's not me. I'm like, dude, just. She's like, but I love doing this. This is what makes me happy. And I'm like, okay, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. And, you know what I mean? And that's what she loves as well. Yeah. That's not me. Mine's just, can you make me a sandwich? And I'll be a happy dude.
That's what I'm talking about. Just help me do the laundry. Just help me do some dishes. That's it.
And I'll go do the dishes. I'll go do the laundry. But we're very different in so many ways. You know what I mean?
That's good that you recognize that, though. So you know what fills her bucket. She knows what fills
100%,
yours. And
yes.
you guys just constantly are filling each other's bucket. That's amazing. I love that.
And we practice that.
Good. Love it.
So we always talk about pre-planned behaviors. We practice these things every day because it becomes a habit, and then it becomes easy.
Yeah.
They always say what's easy to do is just as easy not to do. Mm-hmm. You know it's easy to be nice. You know you can walk in and say, hey, how you doing? How was your day? Blah, 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 blah. But it's just as easy just to walk in and say, oh my God, you're going to do the fucking laundry. It's the same old shit that you have in a lot of relationships.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah, and guess what? A lot of that misplaced anger has nothing to do with the situation that's happening. It has something to do with something much deeper. And as a mindset coach, that's what we do, right? Like I get a client that comes to me with a problem.
You get the shovel out and you start digging?
Oh, let me tell you something.
Or you get the backhoe out and start digging with the backhoe?
It depends on the person. Yes. And that's what happens is they come to you with a problem and that's their problem. To them, that's the problem. As a mindset coach, I already know that's not the problem. That problem is probably 5 layers deep, if not more. And I get to ask questions and drill down and drill down and drill down until we get to the real root of the problem. That's
got to be so challenging and hard. Now, how long does it take?
It can be.
Let's say you got someone, they're angry, they're just miserable. Because what I always hated about therapy was I get an hour. And I didn't get nothing solved in an hour. I want my shit solved now. I'm the kind of guy, I want to solve the problem right now, today, in this moment. Let's solve it.
Okay.
Where in therapy, it's, they want to talk about your past. They want to talk about your history. They want to talk about this. I'm like, I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. Just solve this problem.
You know what's really cool about NLP? I don't give a shit about your past. It doesn't make a difference.
I'm so glad because I don't give a shit about my past either because it doesn't serve me.
You and I can have a session together. I can walk you through an emotional breakthrough in less than an hour and you don't even have to say a word to me. It's all done in your head.
Serious?
100%.
That's crazy. So is that sort of like hypnotism as well? You're sort of hypnotizing them in a sense, would you say?
That's a good question. I'm not certified in hypnotism. I don't hypnotize people. However...
Wait, I just hypnotized you?
I'm a terrible actress.
I'm Star Wars. I just
However, you probably already know this too with some of the training that you have, is that everyday conversation puts people into trance.
Yes, 100%.
We work in the space of trance. We don't work in the space of hypnosis.
Interesting. So explain a little more about working in, because most people aren't going to understand what that means. Explain what that means.
Yeah. So normal conversation every day when you're back and forth, bantering back and forth, you're both in a state of trance at that point, and it's just a natural flow of how conversation goes. So when you're having a conversation with somebody, when you're doing a modality with somebody in NLP, you're going to have a conversation with them around, you're going to talk about some stuff before you jump right into the modality, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then that's going to put them in a trance so that they're more relaxed, their unconscious mind is more receptive to what it is that you're doing with them, because that's where it's all stored, right? That unconscious mind is the blueprint to your entire life. Everything you've been through, everything you're meant to do, all of it is stored there.
That goes deep.
It does go very deep.
It goes really deep.
We don't have enough time. An hour's not enough time to go.
Wait, we don't have enough time to go deep? Let's just go deep right now. Shit. Dive right on in, girl. Get on in.
I'm telling you, that's where it's at. And guess what? It's the unconscious mind, it's the conscious mind, what I call the itty bitty shitty committee, that prevents you from having that relationship with your unconscious mind. Because that conscious mind is meant to,
Why is that though? Why is that it makes it so challenging to have a relationship with your unconscious mind? What is it about us that prevents us from doing that?
Because everybody has a set of filters that they filter information through. Right. So whether you see it, smell it, hear it, taste it, all the senses, right? Mm-hmm. You have a set of preset filters that you have developed over the years that all that information pours through.
Right.
Okay? And so what happens is the unconscious mind gets used to a certain thing, and that is it. To it is matter of fact. That is the way it is, no matter what. So
like me having to eat a bowl of cereal every night before I go to bed.
Or get pissed off that your microphones aren't working when your podcast doesn't record correctly.
Oh, yes.
So it's like anything else in life, right? In order to form a habit, you have to do something how long?
21 days.
Really, it's 66.
Yeah, because I know 21 days doesn't really work. That just gets it started.
It does get it started. Yeah, 66 is where you're actually starting to change the synaptic gap in your neurology. Right. That all that programming is in. Look, when you dive into the neuroscience of NLP, it is some amazing shit, man. And I'm just like, man, I don't think people underestimate the power of the human brain. Right. The human brain is the biggest supercomputer ever invented, ever. Yes. And when you can learn to tap into that code and use it to your advantage, life starts to change. Life opens up a shit ton of opportunities. You start seeing things differently. You start viewing things differently. The judgment that a lot of us sit in on a regular basis starts to go away.
I bet your emotions change too. The emotions you live with on a daily basis have got to change.
Oh, for sure. And that also comes with a lot of, self-affirmation and reprogramming that, because we all live in a state of, and I say we all, that's very general and that's very universal. Some of us have grown up in a very good family.
100%.
We didn't have a lot of trauma growing up.
That was my wife.
Guess what though? Trauma to her could be that she stubbed her toe in the middle of the night. And that trauma is stored in her brain the same way you losing your son is stored in yours.
Oh, yeah.
Stored the same.
So trauma is trauma.
Trauma is trauma. I don't care how, and who are we to say it's little or not?
Right, because my trauma could be, because I'm a very mentally tough person.
Sure.
My entire life I have just been raised in broken families, raised around brokenness, being poor, being broke, in every way possible, have experienced just so much heartache through life. And to me, I just see it as life. Yeah. I don't see it as anymore. I don't see it as either good or bad. I see it as this is just life. We can take it however we want to take it. Yeah. But now when I look at other people, let's use my wife for example, she has lived a phenomenal life. Never lost a job, always had a great job, worked for the same company for 32 years, has a phenomenal income. And me, when I was in my early 20s, I was laid off 14 times in 4 years.
But I bet if you sat her down and asked her, give me an example of something that's happened in your life that made you feel really bad.
Yes, and I've done that with her.
She's going to be able to give you something.
And she does it. I'm like, holy shit, never would I have thought that. But what we think is small may be huge.
It's perception. We all have a different perception, right? This is why when an accident happens, the police ask all the people that are around, now they got to take the story from 15 people and decipher exactly what happened, right?
Right.
So, and it's the human brain, like I was saying, is just, to me, it is the biggest and most advanced supercomputer that has ever been invented. I don't care what's out there,
I
what
think it's
technology
amazing,
has
yes.
done. It is the...
It processes so fast.
Oh my gosh.
And I've got a book back here, which I don't see it, but it's called Selling with NLP. For like, if you're going to be a salesman, using NLP to sell.
Funny thing that you say that, because there is, during training, the trainer did tell us your brain processes faster than you could speak. So here's what's funny. The funny part about that is this. Most people, when their unconscious mind knows something's coming that's going to be tough for them to hear, they don't want to listen to it. They don't want to face the reality. Something physiologically will happen within their body. I got to go to the bathroom. I'm going to get up and leave the room and go to the bathroom because something's coming that I don't want to hear.
Interesting.
And she'll tell you, I'm not saying sit in it. I'm saying sit with it.
Because you don't want to sit in it if you're pooping your pants. You don't want to sit in it. I'm just saying.
You know from experience?
I do. Hey, if you haven't pooped your pants, you're probably not human, is what I got to say. That's all I can tell you.
So, mindset is, to me, it's a phenomenal tool that I've been blessed to learn.
Right.
And it's helped me, it's transformed my life. It really has. I mean, like, all the things that I'm doing in my life now, I would have never have done as the 3-year-ago Nina. There's no way.
Isn't that crazy?
It is
Such a
so
shift.
cool.
Such a big shift. And we talked about this before. Your shift. Where did your shift happen?
Yeah.
When did that happen for you?
So there's a lot of little incidents that I can think of back in my life, but the massive one that came was when I have a 30-year-old daughter she has been suicidal.
Wait, you have a 30-year-old daughter?
I do.
Are you that old?
I'm 50.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I know. You just don't look that. You look like maybe 38, 39.
I love you, man. Thank you.
I know.
All right, cool. Anyway, when she was about 24 years old, she went through a massive, for 10 years, between 14 and 24, she went through a lot of suicidal tendencies.
Right.
There was a lot of attempts that happened in there. And when she was 24, she had gotten accepted into a program from a local mental health facility here in the St. Charles County area. And she was seeing a psychiatrist, she was seeing a psychologist, she was seeing a counselor, and they were just medicating her, just pumping her full of medications. Sure. And she said she hated the way she felt. She's like, yeah, I feel better because I don't feel.
Right.
I'm flatlined now at this point. Before it was like she was either way up here or she was way down here.
Right.
She got to a point where she was like, I want a more cognitive approach to this. I don't want to take medication. And so she went and she sought out some training from a woman who I happen to know, which I didn't realize this is what the woman did. I'm telling you, man, the universe sets things up and it's like a chess game, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so anyway, she went through some training, and my husband and I watched our daughter go from no self-esteem, no self-worth, I don't understand why I'm on this planet, I have no purpose, to I'm focused, I understand who I am, I love myself for who I am, I have a lot to offer others. I mean, like, we watched this 180-degree turn happen in a matter of, for her, it was like 8 months.
Holy cow.
It was like 8 months. And I was like, oh, give me some of that.
Come on now, girl, I tell you
And really,
what.
to be truthful, she came to me because her and my relationship was very much like this.
Well, sure.
I'm a very hardened individual, military background.
Oh, yeah.
Grew up in a low socioeconomic family, so I was constantly scavenging for food and
Sure.
the things that I needed to survive on my own
Oh, yeah.
from a very young age. And so I have a suit of armor, right? Like, I've learned to be a tough person. So things would come at me, right? And I'm just like, things would come at her and she would just completely internalize them.
Right.
And then she would beat herself up for hours over things. And I didn't understand that. I'm like, why?
Right.
I don't understand where you're coming from. Well, when we watched her go through this training and did that 180, she came to me and she said, Mom, I know our relationship hasn't been the best it's been in the last 10 years. What would you say if I asked you to go through this training as well? And right then and there was an aha moment in my brain of, she's asking me to do something that she's never asked of me. She has a need. I can now walk hand in hand with her through something that is super important to her.
Sure.
And not only is it super important to her, because it changed her life, I know it's going to change my life. And I said, I didn't even ask her how much it was or anything. I was just like, bring me the contracts. Signed.
Done.
Busted through it in 11 months. She held off on the final stage of her training so that her and I could do it together and graduate together.
That is so cool.
As master coaches and trainers of this program.
And that's really cool because you found something that changed your entire life.
My entire life. Her and I, we love having conversations with each other now. I have a 24-year-old son that has also been through this training. And he has chosen to really not utilize the tools that he's gotten
Right, and that's common.
up until recently. He's now coming into a place in his life where he's like, oh, I get it.
Right.
Because once you don't know what you don't know, and
Right.
once you know what you know, you can't unknow what you know.
Right.
And I know
that's
that
why we
sounds-
don't know what we know when we know.
I know that sounds very like wordy and all the things.
I know.
It is so true.
Right.
You know why they call things? You know why they call cliches cliches? Because them fuckers are true.
Yeah,
They're true.
they are.
Think of any cliche you've ever heard in your life. It's true. So anyway, that's how the transformation happened for me. It was a moment of, and I was also in a place when she came to me to ask me to go through this training where I wasn't happy with myself. Was 50 pounds overweight, had been for 20 something years, miserable in my own body, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I'm 46 years old at this point. And I'm like, I've got to do something. That
Right.
what I've been doing in my current state hasn't gotten me where I want to go in life.
Right.
Was it going to hurt for me to jump on this and just see what it does for me?
100%.
Changed my life completely.
Isn't that crazy? That's just crazy.
I'm blessed.
Because you've done more. So now, for the listeners, Nina has worked in the Chamber of Commerce for many, 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 many years.
Yeah.
And she has literally worked, I would say probably around 10,000 different businesses. And networking and
Easy.
teaching and training people
Sure.
how to network and events and groups. And I mean, I know I've known you for years and years and years from being in the Chamber. And I can assure you one thing, that having a good mindset in business is probably the most important thing you could ever have.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because guess what? It's going to come at you.
Because wherever you are, there you are.
There you are.
If you have a shitty mindset here, you're going to have a shitty mindset in your business.
I love that you say that because we have a saying in the NLP space, at least in my tribe, of where you go, you follow.
Yes.
You can pack up and move 100 times. I promise you, if you're not changing what's in here, you're going to find the same people, you're going to find the same situations, you're going to find the same heartache. I don't care where you're at.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I'll give you a statistic. They say around 50% of all marriages end in divorce, first marriages. What about second marriages? How many of those end in divorce, do you think? Around 67%.
It's higher.
What about third marriages?
Oh my God, even higher. I would imagine.
76%.
Oh my gosh.
So what's the common denominator here is that you left one relationship and you went into another, but what didn't change?
You
didn't
mind.
change shit.
Yeah. Your decision-making capabilities, how you think of yourself,
How you are as a
think of
person
others.
never once changed.
Correct.
And all you did was, so they call it you're in a state of limerence. When you first meet someone, you're in love. Oh my God,
Yep.
you're the best thing in the whole world. But you don't really know who they are.
Yeah, that wears off after a while.
And then once that wears up, they say between 3 months and 2 years it takes to wear off, according to Dr. Bruce Lipton. And when it's gone, you're left with the person that they were. And you're left with who you were, and nothing changes. You become this combative person. And I'm thinking to myself, now I lived that life of not understanding that,
Sure.
and then I had to learn to change who I was to become the best version of myself.
There you go.
And that was the number one thing. So you look at all the books I've read, I mean, I probably have 50 books just on relationships.
Yeah.
I needed to learn how to become a better me. Mm-hmm. And that was in business and personal life and sales. And every part of my life, I had to become better first. I can't change. If you're my wife, I couldn't change you. I could influence behavior,
You can.
but I can't force you to change.
Yeah.
I influence good behavior by good actions.
Right.
I can influence bad behavior by bad actions. Well, shit, it doesn't make a difference. So you made a big change. So now,
Huge.
you wrote a book on this stuff too, didn't you?
Well, I actually have a book that's getting ready. I'm in 2 books. My first book was, I actually got approached by a publishing company who had an author that needed another chapter on networking.
Oh, very cool, very cool.
She knew
Well,
me.
I mean, shit, of all the people that I would do, it would be Nina DeAngelo, the
funny
master
part.
networker.
Here's the fun part, though. 2 weeks away from launch, I have no clue about this book. She calls me. She says, "I have an author. She needs one more chapter on networking. Would you be willing to write a book on? Would you be willing to write a chapter on networking?" And I was like, "Okay." 45 minutes later, I'm sending my manuscript in to them. They gave me all the parameters of what I need to do. Blah 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 blah. I can network with my eyes closed. I've been doing it for so long.
100% you can.
And so I just wrote it out all out on paper, right? Sent it in. I got my first copy back within 24 hours, made some changes, made some tweaks. My chapter was ready to go in that book by the time it printed in 2 weeks.
Very nice.
And so that lit a bug under my butt so now I'm in a book, my name's not on the cover.
Right.
The sponsor of the book is on the cover
Sure.
because this is considered an anthology. It's a compilation of stories,
Right,
right?
right, 100%.
And so I'm like, well, writing a book has been on my list of things to do. And so now I've got my feet wet, right? And I'm like, okay, all right, I see how this works.
Oh, yeah.
So I called up the publisher, and a girlfriend of mine and I have been batting around the idea of collecting stories from women. The book is called Perfectly Imperfect. It launches on October 5th.
Right.
It is remarkable stories of ordinary women who have overcome extraordinary circumstances. And so, our idea was to collect stories of women who have been through some shit and have come out on the other side successful and feeling better about themselves for what they went through. And so when we pitched that idea to the publisher was like, do you know what the number one word is that people look for when they log into a book website? I'm like,
women?
No, but I bet you do, though, because you're a book nerd. And she said, it's hope. H-O-P-E. Hope.
Oh.
And that right there was a signal for me that God, Mother Gaia, the universe, however you want to label it, was aligning things for me.
Right.
The idea of creating this book, the idea of having these stories compiled and published under my name is where I needed to be in that moment.
100%.
So also the mindset training that I've been through has taught me to listen to intuition. You have the answers already.
Right.
You just have to be willing to hear them and act on them.
That's the hard part. Is the acting on them.
You're not going to get anywhere if you don't.
No, I know,
It's
right?
not going to do it itself.
Nothing happens unless you do something.
Your life is your life. My life's not your life. I can't go out there and do something right now and change your life.
So, what's the name of your book again?
Perfectly Imperfect.
And when does that come out?
October 5th.
October 5th. Perfectly Imperfect. I believe this. I believe that through reading stories of tragedy, of trauma, of challenges, gives you a better perspective of where you are. And you realize that you're no longer alone.
You're not alone. You're never alone in anything you go through in life. And then
But you don't know that until you get out of that. We talked about the last time that you have your own saying, but I always say when you're in the frame, you can't see the picture.
Yeah.
And yours was?
when you're in the jar, you can't see the label.
When you're in the jar, you can't see the label.
Yep.
So when my son committed suicide, give you an example, you tend to think that you're the only one dealing with this pain at the moment.
Sure.
You never realize how many more people are dealing with the same thing. So we went to a thing called TAPS, T-A-P-S, Tragedy Assistance Program for Military Survivors and Military Veterans. We flew down to Dallas. This was 3 months after Caleb committed suicide. It was raw. I mean, it was just flat out raw.
Sure.
I was just fucked up in every way possible, emotionally. But I met a dad. So I talk about perspective shift. I met a dad, and we're talking to him, and he said, I have 2 sons. I have identical twins. They were both in the Marines. They got home, and one committed suicide. One of his twin sons did. He says it was devastating. It just destroyed his life. 4 years later, his other twin committed suicide. I thought, and I said, I don't even know how you function, because I know I was so messed up inside, internally, from dealing with my own child committing suicide, and he had his only 2 kids commit suicide. But that was perspective.
Yeah.
I wasn't alone in this journey. And the fact that they brought us down there to TAP. So anybody, just so you know, if you have anybody who's committed suicide in your life, reach out to somebody, because you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. Other people have gone through this, and they can help you walk through this journey with you. You don't have to do it by yourself.
100%. Yeah.
But so let's go back to your book.
Okay.
Can you share any of your story, or do you not want to share any of your story in your book?
I will tell you that I'm not going to share my story.
Oh my goodness! Why do we even have you on here? You're not even going to share your story. Like, what are we going to do with her?
Oh my gosh! I will give you a high level view of what the chapter is about. I could have written about a million things in my life, to be honest. I chose to write about my military experience.
Oh, nice.
I chose to write about the moment I understood that my own positive self-talk is what was going to get me through basic training. I joined the military back in the early 90s when it was still...
That's when they still cussed at you.
And they still punched you, and they still pushed you, and they still spit on you and all the things. Okay? Sorry, Uncle Sam. Not sorry. So I had all male drill sergeants, and I'm just going to throw it out. They were assholes. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Well, sure they were.
From the moment I stepped off the bus.
They weren't there to be your friend.
No. The moment I stepped off the bus, I had one drill sergeant that was totally up my ass the entire time. He helped me understand what positive self-talk can do for yourself. He taught me what self-belief can do for yourself. And he also taught me that I'm a resilient motherfucker.
Right.
Because that man would take me and a bunch of my bunkmates down into the classroom of our building and exercise us for hours until the walls were sweaty and people were falling out of exhaustion. And he didn't give two shits.
No, he didn't give two shits.
Didn't give two shits.
He's already done those things.
Right. For me, I would tell you what got me through that. What got me through that was I would tell myself all the time when he was coming at me, I was like, he's getting paid to do this, 90, he's getting paid to do this, he's getting paid to do this, right? And then another thing that would come up would be, he's trying to make you the best soldier possible. He's trying to make you the best soldier possible. He's trying to make you the best soldier possible. Now, I could have either said, fuck him,
right,
and rebelled, or I could have accepted that, which is what I did, and rolled with it. And it was one of the best experiences, and where a lot of my leadership skills have come from is from that experience with that drill sergeant. So, Drill Sergeant Montgomery, if you're out there, I appreciate you now, man.
See, you only hate him in the moment. I mean, because
he became human to me before it was all over with.
Bet.
However,
yeah.
you're going to have to read my chapter to find out what happened.
I listened to a Navy SEAL talking yesterday on a podcast, on an interview, and he was telling the story of when he joined BUD/S. The one thing they taught them to use was positive self-talk to get through BUD/S.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's tough shit, man.
Wow. I mean, you wouldn't think they just want to see what you could do. But no, he said they made it all about use positive self-talk to get you through one of the hardest things you're ever going to face in your life. Your perspective.
Yep.
Then I had another friend who was a pararescue in the Air Force, which is Air Force Special Forces. He said, I just treat it like it's a game. So his whole perspective was, this is a game and it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
No matter how hard it was, he said, it was so easy for me to go through.
Well, I'll tell you, I was primed before I even went to basic training, because the minute I opened my mouth right after graduation from high school and told family and friends, hey, I joined the Army. Oh my God, Nina, what have you done? You're too short. You're too cute. You're too girly. You're never going to make it. So when I'm packing up to leave and I'm on that bus on my way to basic training, what do you think the dialogue is I'm running through my head?
Oh yeah, I'm too short. I'm too small.
What the hell have I done?
Right. I'm too girly, 100%.
And I tell you, and I don't know what it was, the moment we unboarded that bus and that drill sergeant was on me, he was shoulder checking me. Well, he was elbow checking me because he was about 6 foot and I'm only 5 foot on a good day. He was not nice. He was in my face. You think you're going to make it in my Army private? Oh, all the things, right? Literally took a pocket knife out of his BDU pants and cut my hair standing right there. Most people would have broken at that point.
Do we want to share any more of this story? Because this is probably in your book.
This part's not in the book.
All right, go ahead.
How many people you think would have been like, fuck this, I'm gone. I'm out of here. And that's what he was doing, right? He was weeding out the weak at that moment. And so anyway, in that moment, I was like, this motherfucker. All right.
I bet you were.
All right. From that moment forward, I was like, he's not going to break me.
Oh, yeah.
I am not going to allow him to get into my head. I'm going to figure out what it is I need to do to get through this.
Sure.
And get through this with flying colors, so that I don't only prove it to him, I prove it to all the assholes back home that filled my head with negative bullshit before I got here.
So you had a reason really to push through as well.
Here's the thing. Knowing what I know now in the mindset space, it was never about proving him or proving them. It was about proving it to me.
Proving it to yourself that you could do it.
And I did it.
And you did it.
Read my chapter. It's a great chapter.
So how do you think that has helped you stay mentally tough your whole life? Because you had a big mindset shift 4 years ago. So how did that help you stay mentally tough your whole life?
Honestly, the mind shift I had about 3 or 4 years ago was more on the emotional side than it was the determination side, if that makes sense.
Right. Oh, 100% it does, yes.
Because here's the deal. We all go through shit in our lives, right? And
no.
as we go through
really?
I know, right? As we go through it, we tie certain emotions to those events.
Right.
So now, whenever that emotion gets triggered again, we have an unwarranted response.
Right.
No matter how small or big the situation was, right? We have an unwarranted response to that emotion. Once you finally have dealt with that emotion, which NLP training does, you can detach that negative emotion and you can replace it with more positive emotions, so that when an instant comes up that would have in the past, up until recently, triggered that emotion,
right,
it doesn't trigger you anymore. It is the freakiest, wildest shit that you'll ever go through.
That is bizarre.
Because I remember that after I had gone through my 11 months of training and I got through everything, I started realizing, because it doesn't happen overnight, right? Like the programming you run in your head takes you years to develop.
Oh yeah.
So it's going to take you years to reprogram,
sure,
right?
100%.
And so anyway, a couple of years went by time had gone by and I started realizing my reaction to certain things had changed dramatically. And I was like, holy this stuff, this is really cool.
What? Say what?
This is really cool. I very rarely ever get pissed off at anything anymore. And then,
so you're not like when you drive down the road, someone cuts you off, you don't ever, come on now. I mean, this is the true tell that everybody knows when they say, I don't get road rage. Everybody says something to somebody.
Do I have a thought? Yes. Do I act on it? Absolutely not.
I mean, you can just like, I mean, beep, 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 beep.
I don't care enough.
So you've really trained yourself to be a certain way.
100%.
And this is your business. So this is your whole business. So for those of you who are listening to this, this is about business for beginners and just business in general. This is Nina's business as a mindset coach. She helps train people to create better mindsets. And you specialize in what, women or men?
I really work well with women. I have had some male clients. I'm going to tell you, y'all are a little bit more difficult to work with.
Don't believe a word, no matter what you do, don't believe a word she says anymore, okay? I mean, we are perfect. Do you see the halo above my head? We are perfect.
I can work with both. My preferred clientele are women.
Why?
Ages 20, I'll tell you here in a second, 25 to 65, who have been in a space for a while where they know they want to get to another level, whether it be personal or business.
Right.
And they don't know how to get there. They feel like they're spinning their wheels. They feel like they're stuck. And I'll tell you why, because that was me 3 to 5 years ago. And now look at where I'm at now.
Oh, your whole life's changed.
I'm in a much different place. And so the easiest client for me is to move women.
Right.
25 to 65.
Well, you understand. You understand it so well.
I 100%. I've been through it. I've experienced it.
And you used to be 25, so have you been 65 yet?
A long time ago.
You've just not been 65 yet, right?
I mean, I'm really 85.
Okay, just kidding.
I get a lot of Botox.
She gets a lot of Botox. She's really not just 50, but she's really 85. She just makes herself look really good through Botox.
That's why that clientele base is
Right.
my preferred clientele, because I know I have the skills to move them if they're ready to move.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, women I think are a little more easier to want to change in a lot of ways.
I think they're more open to it.
More open to 100%. Have you any challenge clients? Clients that are big challenges for you that don't want to change?
Yes.
What's the biggest factor, like as a business, when you want to get a client to sign on, what's your biggest challenge?
Well, I'll be honest, typically it's the money. It's what I charge for coaching people.
Right.
Because I'm not cheap, but
you shouldn't be
cheap. You get what you pay for.
100%.
I have a lot of training. I have a lot of experience behind me, and you're going to pay for that. And I promise you, if you're coming to me and you're willing to play full out at 100%, we are going to shift.
Well, you're going to change their lives.
I'm going to move you.
100%, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm not going to move you. You're going to move you. I'm just going to help you. I'm going to
You're going to get the backhoe out and start digging deep.
That's right. I'm going to assist you in that process. So
because
that's
now
the biggest
you don't
challenge.
change anybody. Is that right?
No.
They can only change themselves, and you can only guide and direct.
Correct.
Change.
Correct.
Interesting.
And I have some tools in my toolkit they're not in the mainstream, right? And that have significantly changed my life, so I know that if a person comes to me who was where I was 3 to 5 years ago, wanting change in their life, I can offer them that. I can offer them what they need to make that shift happen.
Sure.
So I will tell you a story. I did have a client that she paid me all up front for 24 sessions. That's 6 months, so once a week, right? Went through 10 sessions. On the 10th session, she goes, well, this will be our last session together. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, I think I like being in my shit more than I like trying to change it. And I was like, are you serious? And she's like, I'm dead serious. Because what had happened was we had to skip a week because I was out of town on business.
Right.
And she said, when I knew last week I didn't have to talk to you, I felt relieved.
She was happy.
And I was like, she was happy in her shit.
Right.
She was happy being in that negative space because that's what she's used to, and that's where failure happens, right? And I say failure, I mean, we all live in this little...
Negative feedback.
Well, we all have this gray area that we live in,
Right.
right? And no matter how heartbreaking and hurtful that gray area is, it's what we know, and it's what we know how to navigate through. And so the moment we take a step outside of that gray zone into something that's uncomfortable...
We want to come right back in.
You either embrace it and run with it, or you suck yourself back into that gray zone. And that's where she was. She was more comfortable being uncomfortable in that gray zone and being miserable in that gray zone than she was being in the uncomfortability.
It's what she knew.
It's what she knew.
And it was easier.
And she did not have and she didn't even care. I'm like, I don't offer refunds. And she's like, I know, and I don't care. And I'm like, well, when you're ready, you know how to find me.
So she was really unwilling to take a chance on herself.
100%. And guess what? As a mindset coach, I could have went home and beat myself up over that whole thing. Like, oh my God, what did I do wrong?
Right.
How come I couldn't change her? How come she wasn't listening to me? It had nothing to do with me. And I knew that from the get-go, and it had everything to do with her and where she was at and what she was ready to do with her life.
Oh shit. That's crazy to think about, that you can have a better life, but you choose to have a shitty one. But I think everybody in life has the same opportunity to have a great life.
And it's harder to change to get there than it is to stay where you're at.
Yes.
Until you make the move.
Until you make the move.
And you realize how much more beautiful it is on the other side.
So how do you paint that picture of what the other side looks like? Because to me, I would want to know, what is the other side? This is where I am, but what does the other side look like?
Yeah, I can only tell you from my experience what my other side looked like. More self-love. I had self-worth.
So you like yourself?
Isn't that
My girl.
Isn't that weird?
Come on now. I know, right?
So I do speaking engagements. One of the things that I say during a speaking engagement is, how many of you woke up this morning, stumbled across your bedroom to go pee, because we all go pee first thing in the morning, right? Looked at yourself in the mirror of your vanity and said, I love you, you're awesome. I get a chuckle in the room every single time, and not a single hand goes up. And I said, why don't you do that?
Right.
What did you say to yourself? Oh, my makeup is smeared. Oh, I look like shit. Oh, I feel like crap. I'm sure that's what most of you said, right? I challenge you and I encourage you to shift what you say to yourself on the inside, because it will change your life dramatically.
So how do you do that? Because you're not just going to wake up and just do that. You're going to have something that triggers you to do that, is how I look at that. I mean, that means if you write on your mirror, something on your mirror, to me, I like to have triggers that trigger a thought, trigger an action, trigger something that makes me want to change that mindset. Like let's say I have a problem with road rage.
Okay.
I would put a little 3x5 card in my vehicle, and I would write on it, I will not yell at any vehicles when they cut me off. I will be kind and nice to everybody. I would put something to make me consciously become aware of what I want to become and do. So for a female wanting to wake up in the morning, start their day off on the right foot with the right mindset, what can they do to make sure they stick with that?
Yeah. For me, it was a journey of affirmations. It was a journey of getting up every day, looking myself in the mirror, which that was a hard thing for me to do. Now, mind you, I said this earlier, 50 pounds overweight, not comfortable in my body. I literally would stand in front of my mirror naked. I did that on purpose because I didn't like the way I looked.
Sure.
I forced myself to look at myself in the eyes. Started out with 15 seconds on my phone timer, saying positive affirmations. And the minute a negative thought crept into my head, restart.
Woo, that's good.
Restart.
That's good.
Restart. Once I was able to get to 15 seconds without interrupting myself with a negative thought, I moved it to 30.
Wow. Which is tremendous.
And then just went through the same thing over and over again. And after a while, like I said earlier, you're literally reprogramming the synaptic gap in your brain in between your neurons, which has been programmed with the bullshit that you're dealing with now.
Right.
So knowing that you have that ability and you have that capability as a human being on this planet, why wouldn't you want to do that for yourself?
Well, I agree 100%. But now I think every time you see a mirror, it should be a trigger for you to say something nice about yourself.
Hey.
You get in your car and you look in the rear view, you're like, damn, who's that girl looking at me?
Well, now that I've lost 50 pounds, sometimes I walk by a mirror and go, oh.
Holy shit, who the fuck is that? Who the hell was that right there? Damn, girl, I'll tell you what. Did you see that girl walk by?
She was hot.
How the hell are you doing? Oh my God, I know, right?
So that's just it. Love yourself enough to want to do better for you, and everything else in life falls into place. Once you've taken care of you, and when I say you, I mean all 40 trillion cells that are floating around in your body.
Right.
You can affirm yourself all day long, and if you don't really truly believe it, it's not going to take.
No.
It won't work.
So how do you start to believe it? Like what makes you really start to believe it?
Repetitiveness. Say the stuff over and over and over again
seeing
to yourself.
Different results.
Write them down. Then also be aware, what has changed in my life since I started doing this exercise? Check yourself in 3 days. Check yourself in 5 days. Check yourself in a week.
It's huge.
It is huge. It is huge.
We go back to feedback.
100%. You're giving yourself feedback.
But how does that busy mom, that busy woman, she's running, just hustling every single day. She's got 3 kids, 4 kids, trying to cook dinner, trying to do laundry, do this, do that, manage the kids, go to soccer practice, go to football, go to this, go to cheer. How does she find time to actually make this a priority for her life?
Yeah, I time blocked. Like my first 30 minutes of being awake, affirmations, journaling, coffee, because we all like coffee, right? And I would make myself sit down and read between 5 and 10 pages in a book.
Sure.
That really, that changed things for me. Like I started to think differently. I started having different thought processes. I started seeing that I'm just as important as those soccer games, as those ballet practices,
right.
as cooking dinner, as all the things.
You made yourself a priority all of a sudden.
Yes, and once you do that, I promise you, stick with it. I give me a week, do it for a week, and see what happens in your life.
Damn, I'm pretty fucking awesome.
You literally wake up one day and you're like, it's been this easy the whole time.
Right. But you've never made yourself so. But sometimes what I see though is when you make yourself a priority in your family feels like they're losing out on something, and then they sort of rebel against that.
It's not your problem. That's their problem.
It might be their problem, but it affects you because you're married to them. You're with them.
You get to sit down and have a conversation with them.
So how do you have that conversation with your kids and your husband or your wife? How do you have that conversation? Hey guys, look, I really want to change. I really want to change and become a better person. But they like who you are. You may not like who you are, but your family might like who you are as you are because they don't know anything different.
Yeah.
But you want to change. So how do you get them to support you and follow that lead?
This is going to be a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, and I'm just going to throw it out there. If your family loves you and they want the best for you, they will give you the space you need to make those adjustments and make those changes. If they don't, something is broken. Something's already in there broken.
Right.
And that needs to be addressed as well. You just don't ignore it, right? It is a conversation.
100%.
And a lot of times, I have yet to hear of a client say to me, all this change that I've gone through has been so negative on my family. No,
right.
And it's not. Once you get really right within yourself,
you start liking yourself more.
Guess what? That energy is given out.
Right.
Then you'll start gravitating. People will start gravitating towards you who appreciate that type of behavior. That your family more than likely will come on board with you and be like, okay, how do I do this? How do I make these changes in my life? Change is scary. People get scared when they know change is coming.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so when you can sit down and have if you can't sit down and have a candid conversation with your loved ones and your family about you wanting to be a better person, and they don't accept it, you got bigger problems to worry about.
Well, there's definitely bigger problems there. But I think that you'll see a lot of that sometimes, that you want to change, someone else doesn't want to change, they like who they are, they like where they are, or they may not even like where they are, they just don't want to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at that point, you have to make the hard decision of how do you push your life to become a better you? Because at the end of the day, you get one life to live that we know of.
Yep.
I say this all the time. The next 10 years of your life are going to go by no matter what. If you get to stay alive on this earth, those 10 years are going to go by.
Yeah.
So you're either going to be where you are or where you want to be. But you'll never get where you want to be if you don't decide, first of all, where it is you want to be or change into. Yeah. And then start doing it.
Right.
Every day.
To me, it's scary. Change is scary. But you know what's even scarier?
Staying the same.
Being in this damn same place 10 years from now that I am right now.
That just scares the shit out of me.
Because now that I've opened my mind to the possibility of becoming the best version of me, I'm always on the lookout for. I'm always out there like, all right, Nina, what we got now? Whose life we going to change today? And in the midst of changing other people's lives, which is what I do, I also am changing mine.
Right, 100%.
And that to me is the biggest gift that I can give myself.
Right.
Helping you is helping me. Therefore.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, there's nothing like, I'm going to share something we did for our trash guy. I saw our trash guy probably 3 weeks ago. We have 3 cans, that we take out to the road. We live in a very rural area where we're the only house. We're the only trash, so he has to go way out of his way just to get our cans. And one day I was out there and I saw him and said, hey, how you doing? I said, I just want you to know something. We really appreciate what you do for us. And I said, thank you so much for just doing what you do, and we really appreciate you very much. I said, hey, let me ask you a question. What's your favorite sports team here locally? What do you love? He goes, I love hockey. I said, really? I was just sort of shocked because if you look at the guy, you would never think he liked hockey, but he goes, I love hockey. I'm like, okay, he said, I'm going to buy you a St. Louis Blues jersey. So I went and spent $197 on an official St. Louis Blues jersey, and then I wasn't there to give it to him because I'm not always there during my wife, she works from home. So today she gave it, and she's walking out with the bag as he's there with the trash, and he's like, "Is that my jersey? Is that my jersey?" He was so excited. He was so excited. And to me, that's what it's about right there.
Yeah.
The smile on his face. I made the person smile just through a selfless action that we provided.
He probably felt really important at that moment.
Oh my God,
which
yes.
I'm sure is probably something he doesn't feel on a
He
regular
probably
basis.
wondered, was he really going to get me the jersey? Because it took like 4 weeks, just because timing was we were out of town, and then I had it, then we missed him, then we missed him again, and I told my wife, I said, whatever you do today, make sure you get the jersey out to our trash guy.
Yeah.
He's probably 55, 60 years old.
Yeah.
But he was so excited. My wife said he was so happy. First thing he said, "Is that my jersey?"
And how miraculous and blessed are you to be in a place in your life where you can bless someone else that way?
And that's so small, but yet so big to somebody
him.
else.
Yeah.
To him,
100%.
it was like someone showed me value.
Yep.
And that's
Yeah.
what I love.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
to make a business great, so let's just shift this to business real quick.
Okay.
And then we'll close this up in a few minutes. When I look at business, when you make it such a positive, powerful experience, they never forget you.
Right.
One of the quickest ways to grow any business is to grow it through your existing customer base, and that's through positive experiences, just like that.
Why do you think mindset coaching is such a blessing?
Yes.
When you can help somebody shift from where they're at to where they want to go, and they just pour into you after that. Oh my God, what you've done for me is amazing. All the things, right? That, to me, I don't need external validation because I know I'm badass. I've got that, right? And I'm very humble when it comes to that. I'm not going to be cocky about it. When somebody says that to me, though, it does feed that internal beast that's inside of me of, oh my gosh.
But it makes you want to do it more.
It validates that I'm doing the right thing.
Yes. When you change someone's life, it's the coolest thing in the world.
Yep.
One of the one things we do every year is we love to give big tips to servers.
Awesome.
You know, we always do it no matter when we go to a restaurant. My one daughter's a server, my other daughter's a server. So all my kids have worked in that industry. But we've also taught our kids that always value people, no matter what. Whether you like them, dislike them, they're the best or not the best, you still show value, because by showing value, you teach them to be the best.
Yeah.
By you being the best. They see that. And one of my favorite things, we were at a restaurant on Christmas Eve. We always go out on Christmas Eve as a family. And I'm just so grateful that people actually work Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Sure.
So my biggest thing is I want to make sure I bless you with a big tip. And we give this girl a big tip, and she ran over. She was just crying and crying. You have no idea how much this means to me. Oh my God, I just finally get to get this for my kids. She was so, we changed her life.
Yep.
Even if it was for one moment, for one day, it was worth it all to me.
And now she has, hopefully now, she's walking away with a glimpse of there are good people in this world.
Oh my God, yes.
So I have a group of girlfriends that we do that during the holidays too. We all intentionally go out to eat more often, and we all bring an extra $100 in cash with us. And the whole point is to leave that for the server when we leave.
Make somebody's day. There was another guy, he was broken down, leaving the grocery store parking lot. He was broken down right as you pulled out, and I pulled up to him and I said, "Hey, do you need any help?" I said, he says, "No, you don't, but you're the 10th person who stopped and asked me that." He said, "I've already got somebody." He said, "But I am just so shocked at how many people stopped to ask me if I needed help."
I mean, look at the world we're in right now, Eric. It's a scary thought when you don't know what that dude's going to do to you, and he doesn't know what you're going to do to him on the flip side. And that is the fear mongering that has been developed in our world that I am hell bent on changing.
Oh yeah.
I'm hell bent on it, and it starts with one mindset.
Your mindset, how you see people, how you see life. See, I love people.
Yeah.
To me, life revolves around people.
Yep.
The experience you have with them, it changes everything.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
All right, so let's wrap this up. So tell us something about you that nobody knows. Then we're going to ask you a question out of a book.
Something about me. I used to be an avid, and when I say avid, I mean like 16, 17 hours a day online gaming fanatic.
You?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
How are you? Wait. How old were you when you did that?
Let's see. I was already out of the military, so 27-ish.
All right, so what was your favorite game?
Started with Tribes, which is an online one-person, like first-person shooter game.
Oh my goodness, you were a crazy woman.
Developed into Ultima Online, which is an online role-playing game.
Right.
Which developed into EverQuest, which developed into City of Heroes, which eventually developed into World of Warcraft for a little while.
Right.
And then I realized it came to my attention that I really had an addiction with it. I did.
Who would have ever thought DeAngelo addicted to video games?
Right? And I just cold turkey stopped one day. I'm like, this is it. Like, this is like, I'm missing so much of my life. I'm missing my children grow up because I am stuck in front of this computer doing all of these otherworldly things
right?
instead of dealing with the world that was right in front of me.
See, I don't play video games. You know why? Because I'm so bad at them. And then, like, if I'm losing, I'm just going to push you over. Take your controller away from me. I'm going to play. I suck at them that much.
You're so funny. One thing I want to mention real quick before you ask me your question.
Yes, please.
So in conjunction with the book, there is a conference that we're actually putting on November 4th in East Alton, Illinois. It is a women's empowerment conference. So if you're a female, age 25 to 65, looking to just kind of network with other women who are looking to really, like build that trifecta of mind, body, and spirit, this is going to be a perfect seminar or summit for you to come to. We've got a lot of great speakers lined up to be at this place. It's at Julia's Banquet Center in East Alton, Illinois. Starts at 8:30 in the morning on November 4th. Tickets are on sale on Eventbrite. All you got to do is search Perfectly Imperfect or Women's Empowerment Summit. It'll come up. Right now, early bird special, $99. Your lunch is included. As of September 30th, that early bird special will go away and the tickets go up $50. So do yourself a favor, buy that ticket now. Come out and see some phenomenal women who love to uplift and raise other women to a level of their next level of success.
So a tribe of women creating excellence together.
100%.
That's so exciting. So make sure you do this. So make sure you follow that. You go to Perfectly Imperfect, look that up, look up what's the summit called again?
It's Perfectly Imperfect, a women's empowerment summit.
All right, there you go. So make sure you look that up. If you're a female, if you're a dude, well, don't go. But if you're a female, yes, please go. Between 25 and 65, they want to empower you to live your very best life.
100%.
All right, so we're going to end this podcast. We have a book that I have called 3,000 Questions About Me. So we're always going to ask someone a random question. They have no idea what we're going to ask them. And I don't even know what we're going to ask them. It's just going to be, who knows what it is. I asked her a weird question the other day, and we still don't know the answer to it. Neither one of us do. All right, so here we go. Are you ready? We're going to open the book. Okay. If someone assigns you a random job to start, what's the worst career for you? If someone assigned you a random job to start, what's the worst career for you? That's a good question. Makes you think, doesn't it?
It is a good question because I will tell you, you want to know what my initial reaction was to that question?
I do.
Nothing, because I will make the best out of everything.
Oh, no. You possibly could.
Seriously, that's the.
But when I was in my early 20s, I worked for a railroad car company in California, and I remember I had to clean out. So we, on one side of the place, we repaired railroad cars. The other side, we cleaned the tanks. One of the tanks I had to clean out was dead fish.
Ugh.
You don't make the most of that ever. It's just the only thing you're going to do is like, get me the fuck out of here. I'm never coming back. I quit my job. I'm never going to do this again. There's nothing you can make the most of out of that.
And if I'm in that space and that's what's being offered to me and that's what I have.
No, that was horrible.
Oh,
But the best,
I'm sure it was horrible.
But the best car cleaned out was a syrup car. A railroad car, it was lined inside. It was just, you could eat the syrup right out of it. It was so cool. It was so cool.
Okay, I don't know. I wouldn't want to shovel pig shit.
What's wrong with pig shit? All right, guys. So thank you so much, DeAngelo, for being here with us on our podcast today. This is Business for Beginners, where we share the good, the bad, the funny. This is raw, unscripted, truthful business knowledge for the aspiring entrepreneur who wants to grow their empires. Thank you so much for watching. We love you. We're so excited you're here. We can't wait to see you on the next podcast.